Welcome, everybody, to a very special show we have today. We have Cheryl and Hayley Rose from the Hayley Rose Foundation. Welcome, ladies, to It's All About the Biology.
Hi, Ken. How are you? Hey.
Fantastic. And I'm just so happy to have you guys with us today to tell us what has been happening with Hayley. I met Hayley just under a year ago on 419 in Vancouver. And that was one of the first times you had been out, Hayley, in a very long time. And it was just like, this is your 1 year anniversary for how you've been taking your medicine for your condition. But maybe that's where we should start. And what is Hayley's condition, Cheryl?
Is Lennox-Gastaut syndrome. It's a rare severe form of childhood epilepsy. It is multiple seizures, medication resistant, lifelong deteriorations, cognitive and physical delays. It's brutal. It's what it is. Yeah.
Definitely. And basically you're having seizures so many a day, and almost everything that was around you was affecting you. How did you guys come about finding this, basically from what we can see right now, almost a cure, or at least a preventative from having those seizures? How did you guys start with this?
Well, originally, back in 2008, Hayley started her Hayley's Comet strain, and it was an activated, so no acids on it, form of cannabis that she took orally. She vaporizing for rescue, and capsules as well as drops, also nasal even as her rescue. And that was excellent. It had incredible results. Now, what happened was, this is like I said, a lifelong deteriorating condition. It continues to progress and change. So you constantly got to be on it. And over the years, around 5 years ago now, 5.5 years ago, they did an EEG. Up until that point, they noticed a marked improvement, but there was still seizure activity coming from all over the brain. And so there wasn't a pinpoint. About 5 years ago, well, 2018, actually, technically it would have been. So they did a test, an EEG, and they found that they finally saw a pinpoint area. So they're like, oh, wow, we see an area now where we can say, hey, we know there's seizures coming from this area. So there was a huge improvement, longevity. We were seeing really great benefits. However, this is a deteriorating condition, cause problems. Now, in that, she was in the hospital for 5 days, and she had a total of 9 seizures. Now, here's the thing: 5 of them were visible to the human eye. 4 of them were so subclinical you could not, even when they zoomed in with the camera, neurologist couldn't see any visible clues. She was just, so that's not good, right? We need to know what's going on with these seizures. So we looked at IVIG, which is a blood transfusion blood product. She was not eligible because she has low IVIG was the treatment. She has low IgA. So she has a 50% risk of anaphylaxis through blood product. That isn't her exact with that. So that went off the table. And then I looked at the ketogenic diet, and we had a whole thing that we had to try to find one for an adult in Canada. We got a dietitian from Michigan because we couldn't fly her to Toronto. And then we began that journey. And the ketogenic diet works amazing. And it was working amazing. The seizure reduction was there, everything. However, she started having reoccurrent hypoglycemic and excessive ketosis. So what happens is it creates what appears to be almost like going into a diabetic coma. So you are having the vomiting, headaches, all, nausea, and even like going unconscious, like trying to fight for consciousness, right?
Yeah.
Um, and these were severe.
Hmm.
So from 2021, started in 2020, but 2021 to and 2022 were so severe that she actually was taken into hospital.
Hmm.
And so with this, typically you would treat it with a carbohydrate. So a
Right.
lot of times, typically for diabetics, they have a pill you would take, or orange juice and sugar or whatever, right?
Right.
Um, with her diet and everything, we have to be careful. We want to make sure there's always fiber content. Also, juice is quick in, quick out in digestion compared to the food, which will
Right.
hold on. So we use large amounts of food. I was having to give up to 2 liters of apple juice within, just to keep her, like, continuously just giving it to her to get her glucose to stay above 3,
Ouch.
and 2.4 to 3. Okay, we're talking, she
Hmm.
even hit a 1.9. It was bad at
Hmm.
one point during this time. And the thing is that, so we were treating it the way you were supposed to. Nothing. The dietitian and the doctors, we had the endocrinology team involved, we had our neurology team involved. Our dietitian had a listserv of over 400 keto dietitians and doctors and everything, 2 years in a row,
Right.
and nothing. So Hayley has these bouts of issues.
Hmm.
And with that, we were actually bringing her ratio down because her ketones and glucose were so off that even lessening the ratio all the way to almost to no ratio, and we were still struggling with it. So something far more was happening with
Right.
her. So as we hit 2023, so after summer of 2022,
Hmm.
I was really concerned because we didn't know how, like, one more summer, right? We keep losing stability, her body stability. Her seizures were great. She was having better seizure control via
Yeah.
EEG than she's ever had. And so we were like, okay, how do we fix this? Brain's doing good, body's tanking out. Like,
Right.
this could become a crisis that we might not be able to come out of.
Hmm.
So the doctors were like, well, just keep doing what you're doing, because they didn't know what else to do. We tried everything, every possible thing that they could try, everything from adding cornstarch and inulin, you name it. We added it, we tried it,
Hmm.
and nothing. So after the summer of 2022, I was like, okay, I have to try something new. Nothing else is working. I'm like, okay, well, let's try raw cannabis. A friend of mine, her son actually, um, he uses raw cannabis, and it doesn't so much help with his seizures for him.
Right.
However, his overall health and well-being is
Hmm.
greatly improved, right? Which is huge, because if you're sick, you're going to be more prone to whatever your condition issues
Yeah.
are. So I contacted Dr. William Courtney and his wife
Hmm.
Kristen, who is they're absolutely wonderful people. And I contacted them September 2022.
Hmm.
And we started discussing raw cannabis. How do we get this into Hayley? With her ketogenic diet, it is weighed to the 100th of a gram, right?
Yes.
It's like we usually we do it to a 10th, but you have to 100 so that you can kind of gauge to make sure, right? And when you're dealing with spices or whatever, you gotta. It's not going to weigh if you don't have a 100th scale.
Yeah.
So, um, so we looked at how I could get this raw cannabis into her, and we looked at a few
Mhm.
things. I could not find certain information out, but we trialed and errored, and I came up with a game plan, and it came like that with Dr. Courtney that would work so that we could get something into her. And I managed to incorporate a quarter of what he had prescribed for acidic cannabis for Hayley as a dietary essential food in her diet, right? Because this is what it really comes down to is how do we get it in her diet, right? Food. So we got a quarter of it in, and I honestly, when we started this trip with the raw cannabis, the most I was hoping for was that it would help stabilize or make her healthy enough that we could get a few more summers out of her before she completely tanks out. I was really concerned that we were not going to get that. And in January 2023, she actually started tanking out again. And before that, it had been mostly triggered from heat from the summer, which is why those two previous summers were bad, right?
Yes.
So I got really worried in January, and we started March 27th, 1 year ago today, on her raw cannabis journey, and we started implementing it. It took 41 days for the full effect of a quarter of the prescription, but we started seeing little benefits here and there. You could kind of see it starting to decline, right?
Well, and let me break in, because you had only started this, like John's next event is in 3 weeks on the 19th again. So you'd only started this 3 weeks before I saw Hayley at the event. And I saw Hayley, up singing. I sat and talked to her for an hour or better. Amazing results. And she wasn't affected by what she had been affected before, because you were actually able, Hayley, to come out of your home to that event. And I think that was one of the first times that you had been out in a very long time.
In the car. Remember, you want to tell them about that?
Please.
I took a car there.
Yeah. Before it was her anti-vibration wheelchair.
Yeah.
In cars, buses, and SkyTrain. Now she can take we throw cushions in, just like seat cushions, right? Throw them into the vehicle, and now she can go in a vehicle. And we actually drove to that event, and that is the first time since 2008, before 2018, around there. 2018 was around the last time she was in a vehicle without it, and it was a couple years, something that before, where she was the last that she could be actually on a SkyTrain without the wheelchair. So
within 3 weeks of starting this, she was able to go to this event and not be affected by the lights, the sound. Because Hayley, can you tell us the different things that were touching you off to have seizures, if you can?
Like what things used to bother you that don't bother you as much more?
Certain sounds. Moving lights really fast. And sometimes vibration, but not really anymore.
Oh, and that's fantastic. I'm so happy in my heart, Hayley, for the improvements and the ability for you to start having and leading a regular life again. It's amazing.
And since we had seen you there at that event, do you want to tell them what you've been doing over this last year, the events and other things or what you've been up to?
I've been in a club bar, and movie theater kind of bar.
Karaoke bar.
And you love to sing.
One of them had moving lights, and usually I couldn't go near them, and usually they will affect me to cause a seizure, but instead of affecting me, it didn't affect me at all. And I was dancing for a long time.
Oh, that's fantastic. And you love to dance too, as well as sing?
I mostly like to sing more than dance.
Okay. Well, and you have an amazing voice. You sang at the event, and you did an amazing job. Thank you. It touched my heart.
Oh, you also went to the Cher. So there was a Cher impersonator, and Cher has glittery clothes, and we
Yeah.
were in the White Rock Players theater, and Hayley watched the whole show. No headphones. She didn't wear any glasses for the lights.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it
And
was
that would have
awesome.
been normal. Like, I know when I first talked to Hayley, we were talking about how you basically had to be wrapped up to be able to get into a vehicle so that you couldn't see anything around you, because just the moving vehicle and seeing a stoplight could set you off. It's how does free do you feel now compared to then, Hayley?
Okay, you know how it's less now?
Mhm.
Does that make you feel more free to do stuff?
Yeah, a lot.
And she's only at a quarter. Now, there are
Mhm.
things like if there's enough of a certain type of lighting or enough of certain sounds, like I said, she's still like for SkyTrain and bus, we still have to use the wheelchair.
Yes.
But she's at a quarter of her prescription. And I want to talk about the most notable difference.
Please.
Okay, so I did because she has blood testing done with, I will show you. These are daily blood tests done with the Freestyle Precision. So right, it does blood ketones and glucose. And I wanted to see what the difference was. So I did a baseline from January 2023 to March 27th. Well, March 26th when she started. And then I went from March 27th to the end of September. And the difference was in January 2023, Hayley had 75 hypoglycemia issues slash excessive ketoacidosis issues that required intervention and treatment, not hospital. However, massive amounts of glucose, blood testing every 15 to 20 minutes until we could get stability for like a half hour to an hour. And that was what January looked like. And come September, by September, there is I'll show you. So this is the data. Okay.
Oh, that's amazing.
This is the data and the findings, and this isn't everything.
Yeah.
So
it's a lot of paper.
I would say, Hayley, and it needs to be. See, the thing is, Hayley, you and your mom are very, very, very special in that your mom is went deep into the science side and is taking our courses in university so that she understands more about what's happening on your journey. And it has been a journey, and there's others that are taking the same journey where you and your mom can help them realize the benefits that you personally are seeing as well. And that's fantastic. I want to thank you, young lady, for your willingness to come on and talk to us about what has happened in your life so far.
Another thing that happened in my life is that changed is now you know how about you do biology offline, right?
Oh yes.
Online.
Yeah.
Well, I was doing biology for the first time, and every question I answered was right. I didn't get one question wrong.
Fantastic.
Hayley loves to learn, so she was doing really good with understanding. We utilized a video program for teaching, because she give her that live thing, and also written paper so she could write it down as well. And she really was enjoying that. I want to say that So what ended up was like 20. We had 25 in. Okay, so there's two sets of criteria. So we did inclusive and non-inclusive. Those were classified. The 25 by September in a month were classified as non-conclusive or inconclusive because she did not require a treatment. It was like
Yeah.
have a snack, and we
Yeah.
were good, right? It did not. There was no change in the ratio. Her actual ratio from starting on her raw cannabis in March to now, and within months, I was actually able to bring it up closer to, it's not where it originally was a couple of years back, but it has gone back up. So, and we're seeing stability with it. And so we went to 25 inconclusive, but even if you included them, 75 to 25 is a hell of a difference.
You're damn right.
With only a quarter of your prescription. Like,
yeah,
how? It's juice, it's juice and
yeah. Well,
right?
taking an extract out of the microgreens that you can consume easily, and as you said, the liquid goes through the body so much faster. It's affecting so much faster.
Well,
or is that actually what you're finding? The microgreen itself?
Microgreens are better. I actually am for the microgreens more so. So the problem is with Hayley, she needs to be able to eat. And if I were to give her raw cannabis the way she needs, right, to have it for 4 times a day, she would not be able to eat food. She would have so there would be next to no variety in her meal because of the excess carbohydrate content. So there's not the fiber, right? With the ketogenic diet, constipation and impaction is a severe issue. So microgreens allow her to have salads, allow her to have it on her sandwiches. She likes the taste of it. She's like, yeah, way, way better, right? They're just little
more filling.
Yeah, more filling.
Yeah.
Definitely. And that's better for her when you're on such a strict diet, and it allows for variety in her food more too, which is huge for her, right? We've got to be able to keep that going because otherwise she's just having the exact same thing. There are situations like if for other patients where that may be more beneficial for them in their situation, perhaps tube feeding, things like that, right? But for her, having it as her food in microgreens on her diet is absolutely where you want to be, right?
It's a lot more easily digested, or it's giving the fiber that she needs to have regular movements in her system.
Yeah, and with this diet, it's extremely important. I mean, their constipation and impaction for these kids and people can be extremely dangerous. And she's had issues because of that come with the diet, right? So first she had malabsorption issues. And so everything was going through. She wasn't absorbing the oils in the diet. So we had to actually add creon, which is a pancreatic enzyme.
Right.
In order to help. But then we ended up with the severe issues of, the constipation, the lack of fiber in the diet. Nothing's wanting to move. It was a whole nother nightmare. Now, here's the thing. If you're constipated, you seize more. So, like, we're,
Okay.
It's what do where's that balance, right? So,
well, I think you found a lot of that balance in what you're doing.
Well, as we go into the second year, we will be incorporating, we will be able to incorporate her full prescription and microgreens. So that there's a lawyer has agreed to help us with our section 141 for Hayley.
Yeah.
So, Hayley, you want to show him what you? So since give you an idea of how things are going since this December that just passed. Do you want to show them how many? Can you guys
on December and November? I was
Oops.
reading
There you go.
I read these two books. First I read this one right here.
Right.
And then by December,
The end of December.
I was reading this one around near Christmas Eve.
Because it's the Christmas pig,
It's
right?
Yeah, yeah.
And this one is Let It Snow. I read in November.
We're doing themes.
And
Yep.
then then every time when I finished my book, I went on to this one, then this one, then this one.
All right.
This is when, like, picture this: you're finishing one book and then you're going on to the next one.
Yeah.
Well, those will be the next ones, and then this one,
Uh-huh.
and
We're almost done.
then I have this one.
Yeah.
Book 1, it's called, and book 2, and book 3. I'll be reading them again once I get book 4 and 4.5. And
And so
now I'm reading.
Tell them that you. So these books that she just showed you is from December till now.
That's amazing.
That she's read.
Yeah.
And now
I'm reading this one.
Oh, fantastic. And Hayley, how many books were you reading before, this change in your diet?
Not very many, like maybe 2 or 3 times a month.
She wasn't finishing them.
Wasn't finishing them. Plus, I couldn't read the really hard, long words, or if it was a hard word. Now I can read hard words that are long or short.
Oh, fantastic.
Without using a dictionary. Before I had to use a dictionary. Now I don't use a dictionary at all.
Oh, fantastic, Hayley.
Yeah, so...
And you're an accomplished artist, I see as well.
Oh, yes. Yes. Do you want to show them? She is. So... Oh, this is a picture. So this was a actual photo.
Okay.
I don't know if you can see that. Originally a photo. And here's another one
that's my grandma.
Okay.
Of the original
and
photo.
Here's another one that she did that was an original.
And that's my grandpa.
Oh, fantastic. That is so well done, Hayley.
She loves realism, and so she's been trying to expand into that as well. Right. And then, like, we have... I'll show them the hummingbird. This is big.
Oh, let me get you back up the big screen here. Oh, that is absolutely beautiful.
There you go. Perfect.
Absolutely beautiful, Hayley.
Yeah. So, I mean, overall, things are going well.
Well, yeah, and the cannabis and doing the microgreens has really benefited in a lot more ways than just adding fiber. Can you tell us a little bit more about that, Cheryl?
Well, so with the issues was originally I was just hoping it would make her body stable enough health-wise to get through another year.
Yes.
As I was mentioning, the hypoglycemic events have markedly reduced, excessive ketosis remarkably reduced. Now, what happened was it didn't turn around and go the other end where now ketones and everything are too low. It stabilized. Like, it stabilized, which means the seizure reduction and lack of seizure activity, the clear thinking, the overall health. So she's got more energy. She wants to do more things. There's just in general health and well-being, as I've seen in other people. I wanted to actually quickly bring this up. So do you remember, because a lot of people think, oh, acidic raw cannabis, dietary essential, this is new. No, it's really not. Back in, so we started in 2008, but
Yeah.
right after that, Charlotte's Web came on the scene. Charlotte,
Yeah.
beautiful angel, her mother Paige, a force, an absolute force, wonderful people. So here's the thing. When it came on the scene, CBD gold rush happened, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Everybody, and I'm telling you, if that had happened back when Hayley was 7, when I was originally looking, if that had happened then, I would have been one of those people rushing to Colorado. Absolutely, no question. I was already looking, and which is in the States where Charlotte's Web is from. And we already went. We had already gone to the States, but I was in Sacramento years before, and then come back as we couldn't find anything that we needed for help. And we went actually in 2001 is when I actually began really looking at cannabis in general. So, anyways, we have the CBD gold rush happening, and everybody is flocking there. Well, what happens to the kids who were not able to get the access to CBD because it was so hard? It wasn't everywhere. I mean, we got it everywhere now, right? Like it's everywhere, but it wasn't back then. And so what happened was, and I didn't realize at the time, but it was actually Dr. William Courtney. He started treating children with THCA. And I am over here in Canada, and I didn't even know that that was him doing it. But I would hear these stories of other parents, and I'd be talking with them, and I would hear about how, yeah, we couldn't get CBD. We're doing THCA, raw dietary essential cannabis juice here, and whatever they were doing, right? Like they're raw cannabis over there. And so they were doing it, and they were seeing seizure reduction, overall health and well-being. And that's the thing, is it wasn't just,
the CBD,
seizures.
it was both.
It was, and the overall, like, even when your child's seizing like crazy, just knowing that their overall health is good is really beneficial, because when your system starts to break down, you're going to get sicker, you're going to have more seizures, right? Some people have that happen more to them than other people, and Hayley happens to be a high risk of that. So what we saw was that people were after that, but because CBD is so immediate, right? It's such an immediate form and such a powerful form that all the focus of the research just kind of dwarfed out all the raw cannabis research, right? And everybody was all about the CBD. And so it kind of dwarfed it out. And then you didn't hear a lot about it. And I think it's time those conversations really start happening again. Because
I know so.
Yeah, it's really, that it definitely has to begin to really started to be talked about again, because it got dwarfed out, and it really should have been being researched more and more, done and more treatments and stuff at that time. But hey, here we are now. Let's do it, right?
Well, exactly. And like Hayley has a very rare form of the epileptic seizures, but this helps across the board in so many ways for so many different people. To go straight into the cannabis side, are you seeing any difference in a strain? Like, I know you've been very limited on the seeds that you've been able to get. Have you had any time or ability to test different strains for effect?
Okay. I have mostly been working with THCA, so high THC. Other than the actual, so some, but not as much yet. That's year 2 is diving into variety, consistency, and different profiles. With Hayley, we did not start off with a hemp product. She actually so even I fall victim to stigma, okay? Because
Yep.
Hayley can't actually take high CBD. It actually makes her
Okay.
seize.
Oh,
So she
okay.
can only, oh yeah, like badly seize, and it's well recorded across government staffing, like in an adult group home and at the hospital.
Right.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I flung my arm like this. She's like, "Mom."
Be careful. That's my nose in the way, you know.
I know. So
So CBD has the exact opposite effect on Hayley that it does for most people
if
taking
she
it.
has a high CBD, so with her,
Mhm.
the highest I can get her in ratio is 1.3 to 1 CBD to
Mhm.
THC. I start hitting 1.4, 1.5, and she actually will have more seizures. So when it came to what we were going to do with raw cannabis, and I wanted to have an abundance available of it, and her Haley's Comet is what she consumes orally. So it's saved to be
Now that's the
activated.
CBD, is it not? Hayley's Comet
It's
is
1 to 1.
CBD. It's a 1-to-1.
Yeah, it
Okay.
perfectly grown. It's 1.2 to 1, and that's ideal
Okay.
for her. Yeah, so it is, but it's within her ratio, and I've tried to
Right.
take her out of it. Did not work. So she gets it activated. It's been heated, so she gets it in an oil, a nasal spray, as well as she vapes it.
Right.
And that's been her staple for 15 years.
Mhm.
Now, when I went looking at what strains to use, I was stigma. I went, oh, CBDA. Oh, we didn't do well with CBD. Maybe I shouldn't try CBDA.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous because even this is how bad stigma is on the general population.
I need
And
to take my pill.
oh, okay. They are.
Hang on, I gotta take my 1 o'clock pill.
Okay, you want to go get it?
Okay.
If it's not there, it's in the living room. Okay. She's like, oh, it's time. I gotta take my pills. I think it's up there, honey.
It's past time because I took
Yeah.
my pills.
Well,
Yeah.
she was a little late taking her ones because
Oh,
she was
okay.
up.
Okay.
She started the day a little later than normal.
Okay.
So I was concerned about, with the CBD, right?
Mhm.
However, I actually know the person I mentioned that was on who has raw cannabis for overall
Right.
health.
Right.
They actually can't take THC.
Okay.
They are on high CBD,
Mhm.
but they can have THCA as a raw dietary essential cannabis source. So it's completely different. It's not the same, right? But
Well,
stigma
yeah,
would say, oh, it's the same, right? It's not.
yeah. Well, the THCA has the acid molecule, and that's what makes the difference to activate to have the psychoactive effect of THC. That's why you burn it or heat it, and it breaks off that acidic molecule, and that's how you get the THC. And that's what most people think is the main problem, but it's the difference in chemical compounds, and that's where your research has been so vitally important for everyone that has this particular affliction. And it is amazing that you've been able to do what you have done and push through the boundaries that have been facing you, whether it's in Canada, whether it's in the research and getting different companies to help you with the research. Cheryl, you're an amazing woman, and you have an amazing love for Hayley to never give up and just keep pushing ahead.
She's teaching us. She is my
Yes.
teacher. She's teaching us. And honestly, she's really strong because she is a very determined human being. And it drives me. I'm very blessed to be her mom. Right, Hayley? High five. Nice work.
Well, it's fantastic, and you can feel the love for that you guys have for each other coming through the screen. It's just amazing that you guys have been able to accomplish so much in the years since you first took the steps down this direction. Now, I also understand that she does take high THC, outside of the microgreens. John Burfello came up with the Medi Kush strain that I believe she takes as her high THC. So she's taking both, right?
No, that's the raw.
That's the raw end. Okay. So she's been taking that raw for a
she
longer
takes the
time?
Hayley's Comet. The 1-to-1 Hayley's
Right.
Comet is her active THC CBD that she takes.
Right.
But I guess should we tell them?
Okay.
Yeah.
Uh-oh. The cat's out of the bag is what you're saying.
Hayley went 14 years of her main source of her cannabis medicine was activated Hayley's Comet.
I went 31 days without having a seizure.
Oh, yes. Yeah, but that wasn't even what I was going to say. Do you want me to tell them the other one?
Mm-hmm. I know of the cannabis one.
The CBD and like the activated. It's all raw cannabis. Except we do, because we're only at a quarter. There's still like catamenial time's pretty rough. So we still have her regular Hayley's Comet for inhaled or rescue.
But now
just raw cannabis.
Now we don't use it unless really need it.
Yeah.
And the hope is that as we progress for year 2 and really embracing the full prescription that she has, right? So year 1 was kind of like figuring it all out. And I had to, in order to get to do this section 140, you have to show that this is going to work. And I didn't know if it was going to work, right? Yeah. I didn't know. The results are way different than what I expected. Like, so impressive. I'm just like, her doctors, they got all the stuff. They're like looking at it. I've sent out inquiries for collaborations and for asking doctors certain questions about other patient groups and stuff, because I'm looking at different things with it and how it can help other people. There is one boy who's already started stage 1, which is before the cannabis. He's actually so in Hayley's specific case,
yes,
it is about how it is about stabilizing reoccurring hypoglycemia and severe excessive ketosis in when you're on the ketogenic diet. And a lot of people on the ketogenic diet will, even within a couple of months, they could develop this problem. Sometimes it's solved. Most of the time, like a lot of times it is, but there's a certain set of people that don't get they aren't able to add the cornstarch or this or that to get that, to fix that for them. And they end up off the diet. Right. So what we're looking at is the synergistic effects of how it's working with the diet, because between the two, she's, the raw cannabis and her diet, she's just getting better and better. So even her, she has midazolam as well, that is in case things get real bad as a
Right.
heavy duty rescue. So I have the from the pharmacy the collection dates and amounts that were
Mhm.
collected, and you also see a decrease in that,
Yes. Yeah.
right? Like there's the refills and that all decrease. So it's across the board in her
Mhm.
blood tests, in the prescription renewals, for pharmaceutical rescues.
Mhm.
She's now basically switched off, uh, just the last stage of switching off of activated cannabis. Now, when we were talking strains and stuff, yeah, she
Mhm.
probably will do. Will be having raw Haley's comic as well, right? Like
Right.
the one-to-one, right? So there is exploration into other areas. I have a whole thing on that. That's part for year 2.
Okay, well, we got a question. Silly Lily is asking, how many seizures did Hayley have in a day before you were able to stabilize her?
Okay, so here's the thing: the EEGs were really good. But what
Mhm.
can happen is when you're having severe hypoglycemic events and stuff like that, you actually can trigger seizures. That can
Right.
happen too. So it is likely that some of the ones you were having were from that. And it because she was having those events where the glucose was dropping so bad, we were throwing in so much carbohydrates that we were knocking her out of ketosis. So then she
Yeah.
was having more, right? If the if she's not stabilized, it's really hard to say because it's a lot more. So because you're combating the low glucose, and while you're trying to get that glucose situated, those ketones are dropping. The ketones drop,
Mhm.
seizures happen, and it was just a vicious cycle all over the place. I actually have letters written from we had staff that was working with us through
Mhm.
prior to the raw cannabis and after, and I actually have a letter from staff stating that yeah, they've seen the difference, they've seen the improvements in the stability, and that it was definitely noted in their letter that I
Mhm.
had asked them for, as well as of course the dietitian noted it and had certain requests that for us that are all part of the section 140 for year 2.
Now,
I'm excited. It's been a long journey to get here, right? So,
Lily's got another question for you as well. How long has Hayley lived with her condition?
okay, so Hayley is 30. What?
I'm turning 31 on the 11th of April.
Yes. So,
Fantastic.
when she was 7, 8 years old, well, between 6 and 8 years old, doctors at first she started having seizures. The doctors were like, "Oh, maybe this is seizure, maybe it's not." We now, when we look back at actual full on at Hayley's full medical history,
Mhm.
it appears to the doctors that her seizures actually started after her MMR shot. There is testing that she will end up getting done to see if we are able to confirm that, like that was the cause. We may not be able to confirm that, but it was. So she started having what is believed to be hyperventilation and absence seizures
Right.
within just over a year old after her MMR shot. And then after the kindergarten age MMR shot, the
Mhm.
teachers and them started noting, hey, she's really looking like she's daydreaming. We didn't know those were seizures. And then within a year or so of that, she started having visible things that they thought, oh, the seizure, oh, it's not. And it was during the time of, so like pretty much her whole life, right? Because she was
Yeah.
about 1 years old. That we're now retrospect, we can look back and the doctors go, yeah, that would have probably been it. And at the
Yeah.
time, the doctor, you know what, I took her in for it, and I asked the pediatrician who had also been the one to give her a shot, asked me, I asked him, you know, what do I do? What is going on with my baby? This does not seem right. I was brand new
Yeah.
mom, 21 years old, you know, don't know what I'm doing, right? And he told me that, oh, it's an attitude. Put a paper bag over her mouth and nose when she hyperventilates. And I'm like, what? Yeah, you can't do that with a 1-year-old. I'm going to tell you right now that doesn't work.
Yeah, I would think.
And I was like, no, that doesn't seem right to me. And they didn't happen all the time, right?
Right.
So it was like, oh, he was like, oh, she's stubborn. She was not stubborn. It didn't have anything to do with that. He just didn't know. And probably because, you know, the classic, sir, I know, like, I wasn't against getting vaccines or anything, right? I had no knowledge of any of that at all. And I'm not saying I'm pro or against any vaccines.
Yeah. I don't even bring it up.
I'm saying what happened. And
yeah,
at that time, it was within a very short period of time. The doctors believe that's probably what triggered it. There's tests that came out that in Denmark that show that if you have a certain gene, it could something about it could trigger that gene to activate. So it's not like, you know, we haven't had her on that part of the test, but that's one of the tests that we're actually looking at to see if they can figure that out. Otherwise, it was around a year. So
yeah,
it's been a lifelong struggle.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, I know that they estimated back then that she would not be as old as she is today.
That was January 6, 2008. I was told right before she even began any cannabis, I was told that she had already had her last Christmas, the one that just finished, and to don't worry about September for school. Just spend what time I had with her because she would not be here for next Christmas. And at that point, every seizure she had, we didn't know what was coming back. Was she going to be able to talk when she came back? Was she able to think? Was she able to? How was her dexterity? How was her gait? Where were these things at? How you walk. Like if you're able to, how steady you are. This is a kid who, like, when she was 10, 11, she rollerbladed all the way to, like, blocks with me to the laundromat and back. Love to rollerblade, right? So
I still wish I could, but my seizures aren't controlled enough yet.
Well, it's not even the seizures at this point. It's the vibration that would be under the wheels.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So maybe when we have her full amount.
Yeah.
I'm also not against giving her the THC and the CBD versus the acidic. I'm not against giving her that, but we would like to see what can happen without it, right? Like, where's this going? Things are still progressing positively.
Well, exactly. And amazingly enough, the brain actually can reprogram into different pathways and around the pathways that have been damaged. And, you know, you're giving the brain and the biology that builds those pathways the necessary components into her endocannabinoid system, which is having an overall effect for health and well-being for her condition. But it helps everybody. And that's where you've got the young man that's just started on, you know, taking the microgreens, etc. And
he will be okay. So there's one that has started the keto portion of it. He'll be doing keto and raw cannabis, and he's a similar situation to Hayley, and we can look at the comparability between the two of them and what we're noting that are similarities and not. The other young man, he also has a severe seizures. I believe he's got Hayley's condition too, and he has actually been on the juice for a while, but he's not on keto. He actually uses Charlotte's Web as his he uses Charlotte's Web and the raw cannabis. he, actually his mother's like, no. She goes, I will absolutely do raw cannabis. Absolutely. It makes his health and is so much better. And
Yeah.
that's huge, right? To know that your overall health is better.
There's something I wanted to tell him. I
Oh,
remembered that now that my seizures are more under control and I'm in better condition, me and my mom and my sister are going camping.
again.
I couldn't camp for
Cool.
how long?
Oh, geez. I think it was 2018 was the last time she went camping. And
Yeah.
it was a big trip because we did, that was right when we were starting keto. And we didn't know if she was ever going to get a chance again. And now,
Yeah.
as things keep progressing positively, I'm like, wow, what else can we do?
Well, let's see, mountain biking, skiing, there's so much, Hayley, that
Oh, yeah.
I'm overjoyed that you have the opportunity that this plant has given you a new lease on life. It's amazing.
You're pretty happy about it, aren't you?
Mhm. And it gave me more energy to
Fantastic.
do those stuff.
And to read. More focus to read. That's wonderful.
Yeah, before I couldn't finish a book, now I'm finishing books and going on to the next one every time.
She's always loved reading and always been interested in reading, but finishing it and getting into the next one was problematic. So usually it would be like catamenial seizures would mess her up, and then it kind of put a hold on it, right? Now we've gone through catamenial times that actually once we've got the acidic cannabis increased in her body, right, I'm expecting that we'll see it a bit better. But I also could look at that she may need to have a little boost of her other
Yeah.
right. We got two different things, right? So raw cannabis, I keep mentioning it as a dietary essential because of how it reminds me of how a vitamin or a supplement works in your body. So
Right.
It takes a bit to kick in, and then it works well. And I noted we did 21 days approximately without raw cannabis after we had seen the original results. And after 21 days, we started to note more hypoglycemic issues and more, ketosis, severe ketosis events.
Right.
So, yeah, so much like a vitamin, if you're depleted and you take a vitamin or supplement to help your body, it takes a while to really get going full effect.
Get you back
right?
into balance. Yeah.
Yeah. And then if you stop it, you're going to see that depleted thing. And I found that really interesting that you really note it with the raw cannabis. Whereas, I mean, we use activated cannabis as rescue drugs, like bam, right?
Yeah.
I find it so amazing. This is such a wide spectrum, right? Like the uses for it just keeps growing, right?
Well, yeah, exactly. We keep finding more and more components in the cannabis plant, different cannabinoids, different profiles that affect our bodies in different ways. We've only scratched the surface, and yet this is the most researched plant on our planet now, and we've still only scratched the surface of what it can do for the human species.
What does that mean?
It means that everybody's studying it, but we barely know anything about it. So much more has to be learned about it.
And you're helping us learn, Hayley.
Yeah, you're helping us. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. Thank you. And I know that there's other people that have your condition and conditions similar to yours that are going to find the cure or the relief that you found, and you know how much it means to you. Think of all those other people that you're able to help, young lady, because of what you've been through. Thank you so much from the bottom of my heart.
You're welcome.
Yes, and Silly Lily wanted to make sure that if I don't get a chance, Hayley, happy birthday on April 11th. Mine is on the 23rd of April.
Oh, so
That's
cool.
close to my mom's birthday.
Mine's the 19th.
Well, and now I'm going to be in Vancouver on the 19th. I don't know if you guys are going to be at John's event this
We
year
will
again.
be, but I'm not there celebrating my birthday. I'm there for the palindrome.
And Hayley, I hope, is going to get a chance to sing again. We'll have to see.
Oh.
You did such a wonderful job last year, Hayley. It was amazing.
I wanted to mention when you're talking about other people and helping, I always go, my brain goes right away to Kirsten, Dr. Courtney's wife.
Ah, yes.
Right?
Yes.
Lupus, could not have children.
And that's why they brought in the original CBD from Spain. Kevin Jodry actually brought that in. That's where I learned about, using the cannabis leaf, was from what they were doing and the stories that he had told about that time and bringing, what was it, AC/DC, I think, that they brought over from Spain. And that's what Charlotte's Web is based on. That's what Hayley's Comet is based on, is that the original strains that came from Spain that they brought in to help.
Oh, yeah. Hayley's Comet is from Tuxedo Island.
Okay.
Its mother is Tuxedo Time Warp.
Okay. I didn't know that. And
Yeah. And funny enough with her strain, so in 2008, she started it.
Mm-hmm.
The seeds were like, okay, so it was first grown. That was the year. So the fall before that was the first cropped year, of it. It was like genetic grown, and that was the first grown ever. Was that? So she literally, right? The strain was bred, grown, and Hayley showed up. It was like if the universe could put things together. It did. It absolutely did. Yeah.
So if I'm a parent and I want to see if I can get Hayley's Comet, is it possible for me to even access that genetic bank at all?
It's not in the Canadian legal system. It is like you can't get it from an LP.
Okay.
If you were producing for yourself, for your child, then something can be arranged, because I am all about currently it's not with an LP. It hasn't been. There were some things that I just kind of didn't like at the time when the system was emerging. It is better now. I still am all very much, produce your own. For the actual strain of Hayley's Comet, I would contact me.
And you can do that at the Hayley Rose Foundation, their Gmail address. And guys, join their Facebook group, the Hayley Rose Foundation. Yeah.
With the acidic cannabis and that, I would recommend contacting Dr. William Courtney for a consultation so that you can learn more about it, learn how it can help you. And I'm not just talking about seizures. I'm talking about a multitude. I'd say if you had diabetes, I'd jump on it.
Yeah.
Truly.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, I think in a lot of ways, if you're taking it, if you can have access to it and you're taking it, you're going to find a difference, whether you think you're healthy or not.
Consider it a multivitamin or a dietary. It's a dietary essential, right?
Yeah.
When you're eating food, you eat food for nutrition.
Yeah.
Eat your cannabis greens.
It'll taste better than them dang sprouts you've been growing,
The sprouts are awesome. The sprouts are good. They're good. Yeah. They're literally like an alfalfa sprout, maybe a little tangier to them, but Hayley liked them. You liked your little sprouts, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So now the dosage, you're at a quarter of the dose that Hayley has been allowed to be taking, and that's all because of external forces that have been happening, not allowing you to have access to that seed. And I understand you have a better let's say availability now. Are you going to take it in slow increments, or are you going to do it another methodology?
Okay, so what we're gonna do with it is we are going to increase. So Hayley eats 4 times a day,
Right.
right? It's going in her meals,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Okay.
And it'll be a combination. I have a couple of ways that I would want to incorporate so that we're getting consistency and variety of ways of food. So she's not just stuck, right? She's not just stuck. Oh, it's always got to be this kind of thing.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah.
I want, you know, so because of medications and stuff when she was younger, she's got a lot of jaw and teeth issues. And
Right.
as she goes, and it's typical because of the pharmaceutical issues,
Mm-hmm.
that she's going to lose some more. So I am really about how do we make it, taste good?
Yeah.
How do we make sure that you're getting a variety of foods? Because eventually, if you're only eating soft foods and stuff, you didn't get to have a lot of certain things. So I'm
Yeah.
really about maximizing that for as long as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of how we're looking at that.
I was
I am
actually more interested. Are you going, like, she's at 25% of her dosage? Are you going to go to like 50% for a few weeks or a month to track
um
that data?
we'll probably do for like a week or so. Honestly, I could
Mm-hmm.
I don't she could have started and within a week been upside. She could have started it right off
Mm-hmm.
if we had been able to
Yeah.
do that at the time. There's a couple of technicalities throughout certain regulations and legalities that have made those restrictions for both the dietary part as well as the production part of microgreens that
Well,
have
I
caused
think
a
the
little glitches.
Canadian government has to get off their ass and change the laws so that this is
Yeah.
more available,
Well,
is what you're
it
saying.
shouldn't take a year, like 6 months of trying to figure out who's going to help me do this and who I can get this information from so that I can actually incorporate fully into her diet.
Yeah.
But it's actually been a year and a half, a year of her on it,
Mm-hmm.
proof for a quarter of what she should be taking. That's
Yeah.
ridiculous. There is no other time that you are taking. Creon is a pancreatic enzyme. It is to
Mm-hmm.
help with dietary issues. Okay, nobody's telling you, oh, let's wait a year and a half. A year and a half, a year of you taking a quarter of it before we'll consider putting you up. That does
Yeah.
not happen.
No.
It doesn't happen. So there's. It's funny because there's little glitches in the system, is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
They can fix these glitches, but it's like either they didn't want to address it or they didn't think about it that it was going to come up. I don't know. they weren't exactly thinking about that part. So
Yeah, they're more like the stranglehold they have on the industry right now.
yeah, they limited it, right? Because
Yeah.
let's talk in the instance of microgreens, just simply microgreens. You can grow your own. You can produce the seed. You can
Mhm.
eat the plant raw. You can cook it, extract it, do anything you want with your plant. Okay.
Yeah.
But don't you dare grow microgreens because every little microgreen is considered a plant.
Yep.
And even though they are so tiny, think of your alfalfas. Think of when you go to buy alfalfas. That,
Yeah.
right? Like, we're talking small, little, tiny things here, and they are classified as a plant. So you're
Yeah.
not going to get to grow what you actually need to consume.
Yeah.
Right? And it's this weird thing because you can have everything else but that.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's a
Well,
problem.
because for our audience that's not in Canada, we're legal to grow 4 cannabis plants in Canada, but that's the limit is 4 unless you have a medical license and you're
Yeah,
allowed
which
to grow
really
more.
does.
Yeah, so if you're growing microgreens, well, you can grow 4, consume those, and you'd have to grow 4, consume those.
And
It's
that's not
absolutely
that's
ridiculous.
ridiculous.
Yes.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. There that shouldn't be an issue. If my plant can seed me a whole bunch of stuff and I want to add in microgreens into my meals, why can't I?
Yeah.
You know, it
Well, it's just like only being allowed to have 30 seeds, just like we're allowed to have, 30 grams. Well, they're calling a seed 1 gram in comparison. It's absolutely ridiculous on how things are set up. But you're working on changing that, Cheryl, and that is
yes. Yes,
amazing in
we're
itself.
doing we have a lawyer now that has just recently went, okay, yep. I'm like, this is too long. This is too much. Like, we have so much, as I showed you, we have so much data, right? And
Yeah.
that's not even all of it. Like, I've ran so many tests
Yeah.
on the microgreens. I've already done all that, done that. I've done her blood tests, her blood stuff, but also other blood tests as well to make sure, watch for any major deficiencies or whatever, even though she's only on a quarter. Because that's the thing, if I add it in and I don't know what it is, I don't know what I'm really giving her, it could negatively affect her diet. It could negatively affect her protein intake. Everything has to be calculated. So,
And like you said, down to the 100th of a gram.
yeah.
Yeah.
Like, she takes additional potassium and salts and stuff. So I have to weigh those into her stuff as well. Even her water is measured to exactly how much she has every day. Right?
Okay.
Half a bottle an hour.
Well,
and I need to take 5 full ones.
Yeah,
a
like
day.
it's 3 liters, up to 3 liters by morning, but more than 2, so 2.5 to 3.
Yeah, to keep everything flowing properly in your system.
Sounds, a lot of people are like, "Oh, that's a lot." It's not in her case, right?
Well, and considering you're not plus 90% water in your body, you need that constant flow of good water and fresh water in your body.
Exactly.
That's one of the reasons you're so beautiful, Hayley, is you got plump skin because of the water you're drinking. It's a positive.
That's funny.
We're looking forward to the 420 events this year.
Yeah.
Hayley's so psyched. She knows we're like, okay, we got 2 days. We're gonna hit everywhere.
Well, Hayley, you look like you've had pretty much enough for today, or do you want to keep going?
It's up to you.
And see, young lady, I'm saying it's up to you, because if you want to get going, if you want to go to read your book or do some art,
she knows that when we get off here, I'm off to make a vanilla cake with whipping cream and strawberries for her 1 year.
I'm almost on my way to Vancouver. Okay.
Or it's gonna be like layer of cakes with vanilla.
We'll see. I gotta go figure it. And it's keto, obviously.
Yeah, obviously.
Having hamburgers later.
Yep.
Yeah, she's like, well, when we're done with this, I know Mom's cooking some awesome food.
Well, I'm actually probably 90% carnivore, keto carnivore, more carnivore than keto. Yep. So I know exactly.
More meat.
Yeah.
More meat. Yeah.
Yeah.
More protein. More meat. Carnivore.
A lot more.
Meat. Yeah.
Yeah. I generally is supposed to be taking around 1 pound to 1.5 pounds of meat a day.
Oh,
and
wow. It's a good amount. Amount.
I'm a big guy though. You're just a small young lady here.
Her protein is 9.60 grams of protein per meal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And
Yeah.
like her carbohydrate content is 5.18 grams per meal.
Yeah.
So
Happy 1-year anniversary, Hayley and Cheryl. Is what it says. Well, in that case, since Mom's got to go make a cake, we should probably cut this, and we're gonna have you back on, talking more. Like we'll go over the first like 5 years or so of your experiences, and kind of come up to where we are now. But I think it would help a lot more people to break your life up into segments, Hayley, of what you experienced and what happened, and what you and your mom did to help you move through each phase.
yeah, because with the condition being deteriorating, it was literally phases. What did we do to alter the phases? What did we do to change it? And how did we
Yeah.
beat it out over and over and over again in her
Mhm.
situation?
Yes, exactly. So with that, guys, I think we'll end the broadcast, and we'll let everybody say peace out. Have a great day in the chat. And remember, we've got myself and Andy Lopez, the Invisible Gardener, in a few hours. So we'll see you guys then.
Awesome. Thank you